and enter a code.
Okay, he's going to do that. And while Paul, while you're doing that, I'm going to go to Don Andres. Don is on the Hillside Federation. He's also the many years heading up the Runyon Friends of Runyon Canyon. So we know.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. By the way, congratulations to the 3 new board members. I had the pleasure of already working with Graham in a meeting or 2, and I look forward to many more of those. Let's see, with respect to this project, the Hillside I'm going to speak on behalf of the Hillside Federation. The folks at the Hillside Federation have been reviewing this project, which I just looked up something dating back to May of 2015. So this has been a long ongoing project. As Anastasia said, it's gone through the whole numerous cycles of the Mulholland Design Review Board, and then finally went to the Planning Commission in August, which, let's see, while we have nothing in writing, we believe that they voted in favor to have this project go forward. Without going into all the excruciating details, I have sent Anastasia our letter dating August 5th of this year, which delineates 8 specific things of why this project is a problem. Most of those were very similar to what's happened over the last nearly decade. But suffice it to say, at the very bottom line, from the Hillside Federation's perspective, the project does not comply with the Mulholland Scenic Parkway specific plan, the baseline hillside ordinance, the state minimum fire safe regulations in a very high fire hazard severity zone, and they want to make the existing house an, I don't know, ALQ or an ADU or whatever, but it does not meet the code requirements for those either. So there are numerous reasons why they don't meet those. I think it's probably not in the best interest to reiterate all of those. But again, I think not only is it a project that will have severe impact upon Runyon, its hikers, the wildlife, the climate, probably everything else, but most importantly, the Planning Commission's ruling sets a very dangerous precedent that erodes the hillside protections for those specific plans, ordinances, et cetera, that I've just itemized for you all. And if they can do that in the middle of a very popular wilderness park, Runyon Canyon, then conceivably they have no reason to deny anyone else from doing the same thing on any hillside property. So I think the precedent-setting nature of this from the Hillside Federation perspective just basically says none of those specific plans, hillside ordinances, et cetera, are worth anything. And so hence we have continued to oppose it, and we are now looking into what we can do in the next step. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Don. Can we hear you now, Paul? Are you connected on the phone? David, is there a way we can hear Paul through the phone? David?
I'm assuming that he is the 1310 number ending in 230, possibly, yes?
Yes.
He said yes.
Oh, there. Is that you, Paul? We can hear you now? I can't hear you.
Hello. Hello. Good?
Good.
Yeah. Great.
All right, good. So, hey, thanks for having me. And first of all, power to the neighborhood councils. And what Charlie said about the precedent is really critical. This is really basic. What happened here is, what was best for the applicant or what was best for the people in the park. And the bottom line is that the city had really tremendous discretion here to produce a better project. And they chose not to exercise that discretion at all. I mean, at all. I mean, the list of potential discretional actions took up half a page in this case. And so a legal, better project would be a smaller home with less grading, less than 8,000 square feet, which is big. And a better home would require no permanent brush clearance, a full half acre of permanent brush clearance on city parkland. I mean, who's ever heard of that when you don't have to do that with a house? And then a better home would also have extremely tight and enforceable lighting restrictions because it's right in a park and right in a core habitat area. It doesn't have any of that. So this case is so elemental, but before the South Valley Area Planning Commission, it was just portrayed with the usual, it's for my family only, and we've suffered so long to get our entitlement, and seems like the board just took it hook, line, and sinker, and it wasn't portrayed as what's best for the people, what's best for the park, what's best for the animals at all. And the EIR was terrible. It didn't include good alternatives, for at least for the Area Planning Commission to consider. And so in this case, we just urge the Conservancy is opposed to it, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. And we urge the Neighborhood Council to do whatever it takes to send the project back before backwards in the process to get a better project, because it's a horrible project in one of our premier parks. So I'll leave it at that. It's really that simple and egregious as far as we're concerned. So thank you, and I appreciate the chance to tell you this.
Well, thank you, Paul. And I just want to say that all my years, I've been living in the hills here between off Coldwater and 21 years on the top of Nichols Canyon, 25 years here in the top of Outpost, the upper Outpost. And I have seen just about whatever there is to see. And I've never imagined something like this could happen. One of our stakeholders, who was a board member a long time ago, just sold his house on Lower Outpost, actually tried to buy this property in order to preserve the the son of Lloyd Wright, to preserve that and live there. And he was denied because he wanted to add a bathroom to that. That's it, not touch anything else. And he was denied. And when he was denied, they just said, no one is allowed to build anything here. It has to just preserve as is this Lloyd Wright property. You can't do anything. So then the next purchaser was given all this leeway, and actually this person I'm referring to considered suing the city because he had evidence that he was denied when he was going to preserve the historical little house. So we've all wondered about that over the years. I must say, on the behalf of Manny Valenzuela, when he's come before us, and he could have been here tonight if he wanted, he's always been polite and etc. And he did at one point, our last go around, which was a few years ago, say that he was going to reduce the project to 5,000 square feet or 55. But it's all spread out in these different segments of a 30,000-foot basement, I think it is. But we have another lady, Joan, is incredible. Joan Cassell is going to talk about the actual details. But I just want to throw out that to have Paul Edelman here on behalf of the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy and the Mountain Recreation, I mean, this is Santa Monica Mountains. Who would know more about what's right for our hillside but someone like Paul? Maybe Joe Losarelli, who's here with us from Rec and Parks and is obviously overseeing Runyon, knows how this is going to impact the hikers, the people that live. As you all know, I assume Runyon Canyon is surrounded by residents, the whole entire park. Houses on the upper side and apartment buildings, it's 100% surrounded by residents. It's a high fire zone. So when this kind of a project is going to get built, there's no way. There are going to be trucks. It's just beyond the concept of protecting the only wilderness park in the entire city of Los Angeles. It is a wildlife crossing area between all of our areas. So we have a lot to be concerned about. Now shut up here. But I want to thank Paul and ask Joan to come on and give us her statistics. She knows everything about this for many years. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for including me. I don't know if I have much more to add to what Dawn and Paul have mentioned, because I think the overarching statements about precedent is part of this project. I do want to say that many facts have been bandied about. The new the EIR that was approved by the South Planning Commission on August 8th included the 5,500 square feet, and then there's an additional 3,000 basement. So the 5,500 is first and second stories, and then the 3,000 is a basement that is to be enclosed with no lighting. The applicant mentions that the acreage is over 4 acres on this site. However, there's been 20 to 50% of it is sloped. So that's something that the applicant does not really bring when we're talking about this. And then the idea of hauling routes and the 28,000 cubic yards that they want the variance for, stating that the dirt is staying on the property if they get approval for 3 over 10-foot tall retaining walls. So I'm not going to go into more detail. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think the main point is that not only is this project in a park, yes, it's on private property, but it is also in a park, and I think it affects more people than just the applicant. And I think it sets a tremendous precedent for other building projects that will go before the South Planning Commission. So,
Anastasia, I forgot if I may add one more point. This is Don again.
Okay. Don, it's okay.
Perhaps some of your board members are. This property is literally in the middle of the park and only accessible by traversing approximately a quarter mile of a hiking trail to this property. So unless the developer, or the owner, I should say, is going to hire a fleet of helicopters to drop all the materials into his property, there's going to be approximately a 3-year activity of trucks traversing a quarter mile down this hiking trail, which, based on the statistics we've done back way in, I guess it was 2015, and I think revalidated by the city in probably 2019, that entrance of Mulholland has on an average 1,000 hikers a day. So
sometimes it goes up to between 5,000 and 7,000 people a day.
For the whole park, yes, but that specific entrance where where all this construction traffic will have to traverse for a quarter of a mile would have to be shared by approximately averaging 1,000 hikers a day. So not only does it have an impact on the ultimate project when it's built, but during the course of the building, there's also a tremendous impact to the people that love and decide to want to hike in Runyon.
I think there are also 2 other points I'd like to bring up. The applicant stated in the meeting that they would do scheduled construction earlier during the day. He said they start at 8 p.m., but staging they would do staging somewhere else, and they would bus people in. The entrance to this project is on Mulholland. It is not, there's a stop sign there. The entrance is there. And so the applicant was asked, are you having off-site parking? He said, yes, we don't have a specific plan, but we need a yes so we can start planning. The second piece that I'd also like to bring up is that at the meeting we brought up, and also letters we brought up about this new fire ordinance, that for substandard streets, it has to be at least 20 feet wide. The trail is 16 feet at the top, and we did not measure down below. And planning staff said that this fire ordinance does not affect this project. They felt that this California new fire ordinance was made for situations like Paradise, and that was their comment, which there was no way to respond to what staff was saying and what the applicant was saying, even though I felt that much of their information was incorrect. But I do want to bring that up to the fire situation and this new fire ordinance that's in effect from 2023, which we brought up and it was discounted.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Paul. We have a hand up from our Vice President and Plum Chair, Stuart Ross.
Hi, folks. I was at that meeting and I asked only that they give us an extension to respond, and I guess that decision was no. So my question here is, considering we got blown off at the last meeting, what are next steps? I mean, yeah, we can make a motion, but who are we sending it to? Or is this something where people need to hire an attorney? I honestly don't know what next steps are. So I'm just putting that out there.
Let me respond first, and then I'll go to Hilda. We have a motion on the agenda that we can amend it anyway, or whatever. The point is that this motion is going to, if we pass this motion or whatever version of it, it's going to go to everybody, including the mayor and obviously the planning people. I want to put on the record here, since we are recorded, I invited and offered, I even put them on the list for participants. They now have an email address just for Mulholland, planning.mulholland, et cetera, LA City. I sent an invitation to that. I sent an invitation to the 2 people in planning that oversee this area of Mulholland and the hills. There's a Tiffany and a Jude, I believe the 2 are. I sent them emails prior to this asking for them to please be here and join us and give us their comments so we could respond. I have never had an answer from them. Our neighborhood council is the largest in the city. We have the blessing of this beautiful wilderness park, the only one in our entire greater Los Angeles area, and they did not respond to us. We are technically official representatives of this community, elected volunteers, and we have status as a city body. That's why we have to take all that training, et cetera, because we're under city municipal rules. And no one had the courtesy to respond in any way, shape, or form to very polite invitations. I just want that on the record, because this is, to me, the only time in my 22, 23 years doing this that has happened. And I'm completely shocked by it and very, very disappointed. Other than that, I don't know what to say. So Hilda, you want to go next? And I just wanted to put on the record that I had invited those folks, but go ahead, Hilda. Hilda is our housing chair and part of the Plum Committee.
Thanks, Anastasia. I know this is a pretty frustrating case to discuss, but what I can appreciate is so many of you kind of have a long-term experience with kind of reviewing it. And it sounds like, if I'm understanding correctly, that many of you have witnessed kind of like iterations of this project coming up. So kind of circling back to Stuart's question, what are next steps? The first question that comes to my mind is there a version of this project that you all might be okay with? And I don't know what the changes have been. I know somebody mentioned that we didn't get to see those changes presented. Maybe some of you might know about what those changes are. So maybe if we can get like a background of what those changes are, what we're looking at right now scale-wise, and is there a version of this project that the community might be okay with? Or is it an absolute no? And I open that to the board and to our speakers.
I'm going to ask Joan, who has raised her hand, to respond to that. She's got the detail down pat.
The original project that was presented in 2015 was a multi-thousand square foot house. It has since been decreased to 5,500 square feet, 3,000 basement. I think that we would not be upset with having a property owner build something if there weren't so many variances and entitlements that are being asked. These variances and entitlements are pretty intense and pretty impactful for the project that they are presenting. I think that many of us follow the rules and regulations that Building and Safety and Planning Commission require us to do. And for this project to have so many variances and entitlements in order to build the design that they want is, I think, one of the main concerns.
And
That's
just
my
to,
per- So that's, I'm just going to throw that out there. Regardless of the wilderness and being it in a park, they've chosen to have the specific plan. They want that variance, so we're not following the specific plan, which was put into effect many years ago. So that's my 2 cents. I'm sure Paul and Don can add to that.
just a quick comment. I was suggested to them, look, this acreage in the middle of the park, Runyon is about 150, 160 acres, and this is 4 acres in the middle of the park. Clearly, there is a way to build a home if you need to have a bigger home than the 2,000 square foot Lloyd Wright House. That's a historic monument, and you can't change it. Clearly, there is a way to build a home that doesn't require all those variances and exceptions that Joan iterated. And we asked them to go back, years ago and look at that, and to no avail.
This is Paul. I concur with that. I mean, this is a case where one of the most sensitive properties in the city, and the city should use all of its discretion to get what's best for the park and the people, and they haven't done that. So if you lock out all the variances and all the specific plan exceptions, then you're down into a size that maybe works, and at that point might even be by right. But in the meantime, don't spit on the park if they don't have to let a project exceed what's allowed by law.
And you don't have to build it on a ridge line. There's tremendous acreage there. So you don't need all those variances. You don't need all those retaining walls. The Hillside Federation is not anti-development. It's for reasonable development that does not impact the community and lives within the rules. If you have these rules, such as the Mulholland specific plan and the baseline Hillside ordinance, et cetera, live within the rules. That's all we're saying. But they chose not to go back and give an option to live within the rules.
Hilda, did you want to say something? Hilda, did you have a comment? Hilda, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up about the variances, since that's what seems to be the issue with agreeing. Are the variances then in direct response to expanding the current footprint? And do they also have to do with changing what seems to be a historic building?
No, the historic building is separated and away from the new development. It's nestled within this property. You can barely see the historic building as you hike by. What they want to do is build a house on the ridge line away from that building. And then the complications with the historic building is then you can't have 2 existing homes on this property because it's a single family home property. And so that's why they want to convert the historic Lloyd Wright House into an ADU or an ALQ or whatever, right?
Got it. Thank you.
From a housing perspective.
I have a question that was texted to me. Do any of you have a image of the drawing? Does anybody have that handy? Or I didn't ask you to bring anything.
I went to the Planning Commission on July 31st and saw the new packet of renderings that were showing the 5,500 square foot house. Yes, I do have pictures. It's going to take me a while to find them on my computer, but I can show them. To give an example of what it looks like 2. Don, you've seen the picture. It's 2 stories. They're adding a pool. There's already a pool there at the Headley Hanley house. It sort of looks like a spaceship, that 2 Frisbees going into the hillside for the two I don't know how to describe it. It is a nice design. It's just, the design is based on all of these variances that they're being given. And that's what I think is frustrating, including changing the specific plan. They want a specific plan exemption. I can go into more detail, but does that answer your question?
Well, it
Want me
helps.
to look for a picture?
Yeah. I'm gonna let Brian and then Naomi, and we're gonna also go to the public. I just asking now, Paul and Don and Joan, if you would take a look at the motion on the agenda. I don't know if you have the motion.
Can I share a screen?
Yeah, sure you can. I can.
No, you think I can.
Oh, no, Brian, no, we can help you with that. Either Brian or David can.
I
help
just put it in. He said, you can now, Don.
Okay, so I go to the bottom and do share screen. There you go. Maybe.
Oh, I can see it.
Go. Thank you.
So that's, that's looking from the west, I think, right, Joan? You can correct me if I say anything wrong here.
Mhm.
I think that's looking from the west. Let's do this. Getting really high tech here, huh?
And always take renderings with a grain of salt too.
That's right. What ends up, that's looking from the west, and underneath those sort of two levels that you can see are a 3,000 square foot basement, I think,
Correct.
if I have that right.
Correct.
And then as a result of having to build it on this ridge line here, and they've done some effort to try to blend it into the hill, but it's still on the ridge line. It still requires all these retaining walls, etc. Which is one issue. Then there's the issue, as Joan said, that it doesn't meet the regulation of a 20-foot wide roadway. I mean, not only is it not an official roadway, but it's a 16-foot trail.
One of the issues I have is that one of the variances they're asking for is allowing to have 3 retaining walls instead of 2. And the reason why they want 3 retaining walls instead of 2 is so that they can keep the 28,000 cubic yards of grading on site. So my question is, you're asking for the retaining walls to have this grading on site, but if you don't have those retaining walls, what are your other design options? And the discretionary actions and approvals have never changed since 2000 and the second or third iteration of this design. So that the discretionary actions and approvals have never changed, even though the size of the house has decreased.
That's for sure. I agree. Brian's going to comment, and then Naomi.
Yeah, I just had 2 basic comments. And the first one, is that we always run into this issue because, and maybe Paul, you can help. We don't have the original documents that handed the Runyon Canyon land over to the city and the stipulations that it would go. Because we don't have those, we have issues like this. We also have issues with vending in this park and yoga, et cetera. So there's been a slow creep since 1980 was handed over. So Paul, if you can help at all, the city locate.
We've looked.
Yeah.
We've looked. There is nothing. There is nothing. There was nobody had the foresight to put those restrictions in before the Conservancy transferred it to the city.
So all there is a county. Okay. And then the second thing is Garcetti in 2017 under pressure told his commissioners, his planning, that they could not have ex parte meetings with any developer. And to Stewart's next step, I don't know where you can go and what are the next step unless this was going to the city council, which it can't be. But you can ask for a public record of their calendars and find out if this owner had any meetings privately or lunches with these, if that executive directive still stands. And that's about, I mean, we can put up an opposition to this because we weren't included. And we can ask our city council rep, CD4, to, on our behalf, step in on this with the planning commission, but I don't, to Stuart's point, I don't know what next can be done.
Well, this, Paul, you could take a motion to express your opinion, and it'll probably end up getting appealed, for sure will be appealed to the Plum Commission. And this will be in the record when it goes to the Plum Commission, and for the council member to have to, as part of her basis for potentially denying the project.
Okay. Because I didn't know that this would be going on to council with all the new directives that are out and all of the, is the pathway to the council on this project?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Conservancy is going to appeal this project, and somebody else will appeal it too. Probably 4 to 5 to 6 different appeals. So it's definitely headed to the Plum Committee.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm sharing one more screen just for your board, Anastasia, so they get a feel of where this is. This is Runyon Canyon, and can't quite get the bottom in here, but that's okay. This is up at the very top here is the Mulholland entrance at the very top of the park, and then you have to come down. Here's my cursor. There I am. So Mulholland is right here, and you have to come down this fire road trail like this to the property. This is the property. And as you can see, it's a sizable piece of property right in the center of the park.
But remember that 20 to 50% of it is slope, and there's already a 2,000 square foot house on the flat part. That's why it's being cut into the hillside.
But there are other options, I think, that they never chose to look at that would not have as much of an impact, that would require as much of either hauling or retaining walls.
If it would be helpful, I have the Google map from above teed up right now, the existing house. So I could screen share that if it would be helpful. What the existing house looks like. Yeah, what it looks like right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you like me to do that?
Paul? Yeah, Paul, can you screen share, please?
Yeah.
I mean, Brian help or David help.
So that's the existing house, am I correct? I believe.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes.
With an
So that's what's there, and they're going to turn that into an ADU. Is that what? That's
well,
bizarre.
it's too big. Let's see. By definition, it's over 2,000 square feet. So I think by definition, it's too large to be officially an ADU. If, somebody could check me on that, of course, but I believe that's the rules. And they called it an ALQ, which in theory, I believe means it's attached to the house somehow.
They want a zone variance to allow a second kitchen to be built within the new single-family dwelling without the removal of the existing kitchen in the existing single-family dwelling. Because
by calling it an ALQ.
But just to clarify, if you go on ZEMAS and you look at their SB 35 criteria checklist, it does say that the original development would require demolition of a historic structure. And I know that's contradicting to what we've said here, but I'm just looking at an SB 35 app that they have on city website. Just to.
Yeah, and they can't because they said they could not demolish it. And so they're force fitting something that doesn't really work here, right? That's the whole problem. And there's a large property here that you could build something there.
The house is is on the National Historic Register. So
That's my concern, is that if we've said tonight that they are not touching that historic structure, but if you go onto ZEMAS and you look at their SB 35, there's a link to it next to their eligibility criteria list. And if you go to the bottom of that sheet, number 12, it says yes, next to where it says it would require the demolition of a historic structure. And right next to it says yes. So I just want to highlight that for you all.
Thanks, Hilda. Thank you very much.
All right.
Let's let Naomi say something, and Dan, and then I know we have some guests, stakeholder attendees who would like to speak as well. Naomi, you go first.
Well, I was going to mention the ADU part that maxes out at 1,200 square feet, but you spoke about that. This just feels like a gross overreach of this department, and we've seen it before. The whole point of the specific plan is to create very specific criteria. It's not to offer variances and to, give a special options for a project like this. And there's another house on Mulholland, Anastasia, that one that looks like a big giant battleship.
Uh,
It also is.
We never got a notice on.
We never got a notice. It's not in compliance with the specific plan. It's an upslope. You're only supposed to see 15 feet of it. You see about 25 to 30 feet of the house. And I think this should be highlighted. I think this needs to be brought to the attention of publications, the Times, that there is a gross overreach occurring within the Mulholland Planning Department. And I hope that, all of these different entities are able to appeal and get some attention shown on this. I'm very frustrated to hear about this and very saddened.
Thank you. All right, Dan, and then Lincoln.
My concern is that our stakeholders are walking the Runyon Canyon road, and this project is going to be impacting that road and putting them in danger. So I think any motion we pass has to include that issue. Further, the Mulholland Scenic Parkway is a design review board. So the design is approved, but I don't think they have the ability to grant all these variances that we're talking about.
Well,
Thank you.
It went before the Mulholland Design Review Board a few times. The last one was, and it's in their packet that I observed on July 31st, that it was a conditional approval, a 3-0 conditional approval. The Mulholland Design Review Board asked them to decrease the design to 5,500 square feet, which is what they did. Keep the basement enclosed, which is what they did. They did a few of the other items. However, the condition that I saw on the Mulholland Design Review Board asked for outreach to the community. And that was, I believe that was the condition that was listed for on their, during their meeting.
Which has not happened.
Correct.
May I just mention?
They have reached out. They have reached out, and everybody has said, we've already heard what you had to do, what your project already was. So we haven't, we don't need to see another presentation. Not knowing that the new designs were brought down to 5,500 square feet. However, the variances and the exceptions were not changed.
Sorry, I just want to add one more thing, that there is still the process of going through LADBS, and that probably some of these things will get kicked back by DBS because they're not in compliance. Particularly the removal of that much earth. And there's still an opportunity to speak to whoever the planner is that gets assigned to this project, should it go that far.
But the way things are going in the city, I don't think any of that's true, but it's Paul.
Yeah, hi, Paul. I think you're right. I'm sorry, sad to say.
Don't count it. You got to fight fire with fire. This thing is loaded with juice. However they got the planning commission so bentward backwards on this, that there's something going on with internally with the city as far as developer friendly stuff.
That's what we think too. Lincoln, you want to comment?
Yeah, I had some questions. Is the house currently occupied? And the other one is just the access road. Question is, can you only access the property from Mulholland, or is there a south entrance as well? And are there other houses being serviced by the fire road?
Yes, the house is occupied. No, it is not accessible from the bottom of Runyon because the gates are locked always, and they're not. You can't drive up to it and open the gate. And yes, there is one other house that is probably halfway down the fire road, halfway down to 3003, which is a former director's house, which is only accessible via the park, but it's really sort of the edge or the outside of the park, so it's not in the middle of the park.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
been a long time. It's a much smaller property, very small.
Right, and it's, I think your admin guy here, or whoever, is zooming in big time. Sort of, it's like right there on that bend.
Okay. All right. Who's next? Let's see what's going on here with the public, okay? Rob, McConnell, do you want to say something? Rob, you want to unmute? There you go.
Hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
So I've been to a couple of these meetings with the planning commission. I share your outrage about what happened at this most recent one, where the developer had a bunch of letters from his buddies that he had he clearly solicited, and some of the people that you've heard from today who represent the community, sort of, speak for organizations, were there and gave, I thought, very cogent arguments in response. And I think that what's clear from this is that these people are bad actors. The developer and the owner is a bad actor. The planning commission or this Mulholland review these planners, they're bad actors. And they've just, to me, talking about accommodations and how they could come back and do something that we would be enthusiastic about, that's a non-starter after what's happened. They've just kicked sand in the community's face, and the city shouldn't be bending over backwards to accommodate variances, to provide variances that are going to damage a public resource. And I look at this and I think, you dig into this, there's dirt there if we can get the records and figure out how this is working. And shining a light on that is important. And where's our city council person in this? This is a political issue, and they should be held accountable as well. We all know that politics trumps planning, even good planning, which this isn't. And in a stand, we can pressure our city council person. I don't know why their representative isn't here, and we should demand that they show up. This is an organized constituency. We all vote. There are thousands of people that use the park that vote, and we have some counter jokes to make our opinion heard. And I think the idea of writing an editorial in the LA Times, I think that's a good one. I have a student who I think would be enthusiastic about doing that. And if it takes a lawsuit, then it would be expensive. It would be a burden on the community, but we should figure out how to do it.
Thank you, Rob. I do see, we do have, I saw, where did he go? Jay Anderson here from CD4. I don't know where, there you go. Yeah, he's still here. Jay, are you in a position to comment on this?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jay Anderson. If you've not met me, I am the new CD4 field deputy. I'm in my 10th week in the office. If you're familiar with Joseph Soroki, I'm his replacement at CD4. No, I am not in a place to comment on the particulars of this issue or to offer the council member's position on it. But I can say that I am here this evening to take all of these concerns into the CD4 office so that Councilmember Rahman is aware of HHWNC's position on this. That's exactly why I'm here this evening. So please know that you do have an attentive ear into this and into this project and into CD4.
Thanks, Jay. Just if you could add on to that to Councilmember Rahman, it's not just Hollywood Hills, it's also the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy and the Mountain Recreation Conservancy. You know, it's official bodies protecting our hills, and it's not just us. I think that's really important to note. But I appreciate your straightforward response, and we look forward to continuing your work. You're new to us, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
No, of course. And also just let me say that I was just looped in on the letter of opposition on Monday afternoon. So that has been received. I know that that has been received by Michelle, by Emma. The people in our office who would need to see that letter are aware of it as well. So I'm just coming to it a little bit late, but I will absolutely relay this within the office. I'm taking notes on this exact situation.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. All right. Did anybody else have a comment? I don't see any more hands. Now I'm going to put this motion on. Oh, Hilda, you're back. Did you have another comment? We normally don't go back and forth with people, but what is it?
Stuart had mentioned originally what our next steps, and nobody's offered any discussion about tangible next steps. Is that something that we're going to be getting into?
The next step is to put this motion on the table and discuss it and vote. That's the immediate next step. What we have a whole bunch of people that are, we're a city body, we can't appeal, but we can put our community's feelings on the, in writing. Jacqueline, we have another stakeholder, Jacqueline Sonderling, that wants to make a comment. Jacqueline. Go ahead, Jacqueline, you can unmute.
Yeah, I live just about adjacent to the Mulholland entrance. I'm on Desmond Estates Road, the street that runs parallel to that entrance. By Rec and Park's own numbers, 20% of the park's visitors come through the Mulholland entrance. And as you know, we have for years battled with traffic, with parking. We just can't accommodate what comes in there already. And I'm concerned that if we add construction trucks on top of that, the noise, the traffic, the congestion, we've got the tour buses, now you're going to add the construction trucks. It's just mind-boggling how this isn't going to turn this whole area into just one big nightmare. Runyon is an urban wilderness that needs to be protected, not exploited. And this looks like one big exploitation to me. It's the wrong place for a structure like this. This is such a gem and such a wonderful gift that we have. We can't turn it into a housing development. The impact on the wildlife, the impact on the park goers, the impact on the residents, there's nothing connected with this project that is good in any way. And maybe there's a possibility of completely reconfiguring it so it would fit in like the Lloyd Wright house that's there now. But these plans they just spell nightmare to me for the entire area and for the park.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, I'm going to read the motion and put the motion on the table and request a second, obviously. Hollywood Hills West Neighborhood Council continues to oppose the project known as 3003 Runyon Canyon due to the size, the variances, and exceptions that were requested and approved by South Valley Planning Commission without fair public notification. We object to its enormous impact on the community, wildlife, and visitors, and the Commission's violation of the normal process of notifying the subject area neighborhood council, Hollywood Hills West Neighborhood Council, to weigh in on behalf of its stakeholders by providing timely notice in order to schedule and conduct a publicly held meeting prior to the commission's August 8th hearing. Do I have a second?
Lincoln
Second.
seconds.
I'm sorry, who? Lincoln?
Yeah.
Lincoln Williamson, Area 7 Chair, seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? None? Any public discussion, any stakeholder, any of our participant guests? Don, Joan, Paul? Okay, we'll take a vote on the motion, and I need a roll call vote on this, Brian?
President Anastasia Mann,
Yes.
Stuart Ross,
Yes.
Dan Bernstein,
Yes.
Jane Crockett,
Yes.
Daniel Savage,
Yes.
Brian Dyer, emphatically yes. Jason Walker,
Emphatically yes.
Charles Coker,
Yes.
Lincoln Williamson,
Yes.
Manuela Gorin,
Definitely yes.
Orrin Katz,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Hilda,
Yes.
Kyle,
You're muted, Kyle.
he's shaking his head yes.
Okay.
Graham,
Yes.
not, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
Naomi,
Yes.
18 yes, no nos, the motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of your time, all of your passion. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Don. And thank you very, very, very much to Joan. You've taken your time to be with us. And I think the passion from Paul touches my heart, because they live, the organizations that Paul represents are really our lifeblood up here in the Santa Monica Mountains. We